Dragon Ball Z is basically a greatest hits album of anime moments. Like, say what you will about which animes are #1 writing wise, but when it comes down to moments, iconic scenes, Dragon Ball's just about untouchable. Whether it be Goku turning Super Saiyan, the father-son Kamehameha, or Vegeta's sacrifice, these moments are burnt into anime's history. And because of the quantity of all this quality, some amazing scenes end up pretty underrated, like the one this whole video's about. Now, I call it underrated because there's a video covering literally everything about Dragon Ball on YouTube, but somehow there isn't one on this. The scene in question is when the Prince of all Saiyans came so freaking close to being the one to defeat Cell, blasting him away with his new finisher, the Final Flash. This moment is underrated, not just because it's the sickest thing that ever happened to my eyeballs, but also for what it says about Vegeta's character. After Cell seems to have the upper hand on him, he pulls out this last resort, doing so out of fear, regret, but also pride. He's afraid Cell might actually be stronger than him, as by God, he's been folding him thus far. This attack might be his last chance to beat him. This fear is making him feel regret for unleashing this monster. Hovering nearby is Trunks, his son, a son Vegeta spent the last year training with, bonding with, slowly, almost accidentally learning to care about, whose life could be lost if he can't stop this unstoppable force he has created. For maybe the first time in his life, Vegeta realizes something terrifying. This isn't just his problem anymore. Lastly, his sense of pride makes him feel obligated to clean up the mess he made, but also he probably secretly wanted to show off the extent of his awesome power, itching to display his newly developed finishing move, and by God, he puts time into it. There is obviously a big old debate between Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Kai, and I think there's great arguments for both. But by God, in this scene there is no comparison. Where Z excels is sometimes the filler that pads out a scene just to fill up time actually makes the scene so much more epic. The Bruce Faulconer score is essential to go with this scene. Like, it's 10 trillion times better with it than without it. It doesn't just add hype, it stretches time, turning the charge up into a moment where you're forced to sit with Vegeta's desperation. That spacey, futuristic, intense music pulsing through the screen as Vegeta is up in the sky screaming, blaring out in agony as he loads up the move, seemingly sucking in energy from the air as his hands are out, with his body looking like it's being torn apart from the inside. When he brings those hands together, the energy building feels even more earned and powerful. Giant surges of energy lightning shoot out of Vegeta's body, and it's the coolest thing ever. It's literally overkill to have this. Like, it didn't need to be here, but it adds so much awesomeness to the scene with how he's just shredding the earth, destroying hills of rocks from just building up the move, making us think what the hell is gonna happen when he actually unleashes it. Trunks and Krillin do the usual, oh my God, is he crazy? What's he gonna do? Shtick that characters on the sidelines always do in anime, but because of everything I've just mentioned, it feels so much more earned. Seeing 16, this emotionless android wincing in fear, builds it up even more. Then comes the most satisfying Vegeta line delivery maybe ever. I'm not gonna play any of it because I don't want to get striked by Toei, but I'm gonna try and replicate how Vegeta says the name Cell. Okay. Cell! 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 Nah, can't do it justice. It was worth a try though. He then gives an awesome speech, goading Cell into standing still and trying to block the move rather than dodging. And cause Cell has the same weakness Vegeta has, to even let Cell get that powerful, the Saiyan DNA, the same pride, the same need to prove superiority, the same fatal flaw, he decides to try and block it. The Vegeta theme plays, the Final Flash erupts, the biggest blast we've seen in the series thus far, destroying the landscape, making the onlookers jump for cover. Cell, now sensing the power of the attack, actually has a look of fear in his perfect form he won't have again until Goku. Half of Cell's body is blasted into space. The camera lingers on the beam, tearing through the atmosphere as Vegeta's theme ends. Vegeta's muscles look like they're about to pop out of his body. The dust finally settles. Half of Cell's body is gone, and then you know the rest. The man who never gets to beat the final villain loses to the final villain. Because of the fear, regret, and pride he felt, he put all of his energy into that attack. having very little left to withstand the coming onslaught of the newly regenerated Cell. He went down swinging so hard, he almost blew up the planet. But by God, he made Cell feel real fear for the first time in a form where he couldn't even be harmed by most fighters. That's pretty cool if you ask me. To be fair, I can kinda see why this scene doesn't really get the deep dive it deserves. I mean, it doesn't really change the plot too much. Vegeta doesn't win, Cell regenerates, the story keeps moving. But Dragon Ball Z has never just been about who wins. It's about how characters face their failures. And this time, we see the most aura-soaked, hype-heavy chapter of how one of those characters continues to learn, slowly and painfully, to live with the consequences of his actions, his pride. Combining the blinding, cathartic lights of unadulterated action with these deeply human moments is what makes Dragon Ball Z so special to me, and that's why I love this moment so much.